Welcome to the Fresh and Fired Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Marshall, here to help you function at your best in health, fitness, and life, joined by my wild, wonderful co-host, the one and only Hailee Piendl. Let's get fired up.
Let's get fired up. Had to sneak that in there.
We have some exciting things coming for you today. We have a special guest on, Dr. Kristin Dudek, and she's a chiropractor and massage therapist in Saskatoon. She's also a lifelong Ukrainian dancer, which I'm excited to hear more about. What I love about Kristin's work is that she bridges both worlds, the art of dance. If you go on her media, you'll see what an amazing dancer she is. It's really awesome. And then the reality of what training load does on the body and how we can manage that, how we can train smarter, stay resilient, and keep loving what we love to do, which, I mean, if you're following Dr. Kristin, then you probably love to dance. So let's welcome her to the show. So glad you're here today.
Hi, guys. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. And I'm really excited to find out what adventures you have going on right now. Tell us about where you are and what's going on in your life.
Yeah, so I am from Saskatoon, but I'm currently in Cape Town, South Africa on a winter holiday. So I can see the surfers out my window right now from my Airbnb. And yeah, it's been really nice to wipe off the grid. As an entrepreneur, I'm sure you guys know, like it literally takes me like leaving a continent to get away from my life, which I love, but I've had a lot of time here to actually do a lot of reflection and a lot of goal setting and just like sitting down with myself and like staring at the horizon. So it's been really great.
Yeah, that nervous system regulation.
Oh, that's so amazing. Well, I'm so happy to hear that. And I know this is going to be kind of a mix of an episode because I was hoping to get some of your takes on like the push through problem, some of the things that you see with high achievers and why maybe they get hurt or injured, how we can train smarter. Of course, we want to hear some dancer specifics from you because we know that that's your field of expertise. What are you seeing with dancers lately? What are some of the things that dancers or any high achiever could be in the same category, things that they're being praised for quietly that's actually really hard on their bodies? Any common things that you see?
It's the schedule for sure. A lot of the dancers that I treat are in the studio 7 days a week for multiple hours at a time. One thing that I've been really fired up about is I really want to see a push to more strength training for dancers and building that type of resilience. However, even as a practitioner myself, I'm having a hard time recommending it because they're already training so much that in fact what I think that some of them need more is rest and recovery. And even over Christmas break just now, although they were out of the studio a lot of them were still doing their solos and small group practices and finishing choreography. And yeah, I think that it is definitely like dancers are high achievers, perfectionists. Have this like capacity for complex motor functioning, and we're so capable and we push our limits that we're like, yeah, we can do this a little more, it's fine. And until it's not, and then until you're wiped out and until you're experiencing not only physical degrade but mental and emotional components as well. So yeah, that would be the big one.
Yeah, I'm curious too, like, do you think that typically like high achievers get into dance, or does dance sort of make people more perfectionists and like those high achievers? Like, which chicken or the egg? Like, what do you see more of?
That's a really good question. Another thing I guess I should say is that I do specialize in hypermobility. And with that, hypermobility patients or people, we have these beautiful ranges of motion and capacity in our body. And that makes hypermobile folks gravitate towards dance. And sometimes part of the symptom picture is that a little piece of like neurodivergency with that, with like ADHD or like focus and wanting to hone in your skills or get really fixated on things. So that might also be a component to like what comes first. Is it the physical dancer who becomes a high achiever, or yeah, is it Is it the dance? And I think it's probably a combination of both. I bet you everybody depends. It depends. The classic depends for everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I have a few, so I coach people who lose their cycles, and a lot of them happen to be dancers just because of the nature of dance. And they talk a lot about like body image and thinking that having a certain like leg type or body type is going to get them more roles. And I'm very proud to say that, like, absolutely not. A lot of them have gotten really great roles, like strength training, gaining some weight, getting their cycles regular, and like focusing on that rest and recovery. But I'm curious, like, where do you think that stems from? Like, just thinking that some certain body is going to get them more roles.
I think that is outdated training, outdated protocols from the past when honestly dancers used to smoke cigarettes and drink Diet Coke to achieve those
Mm.
bodies, to have those extensions, the perfect bowed leg in an arabesque or in a développé, or the hypermobile foot in extension. I think like, and I'm sure a lot of us hear it, even I hear it or heard it a lot when I was in the studio of like, well, we never drank water when we were at dance, or we never took breaks, or we never stretched, or we never did strength training, and we were just fine. So I think there's a little bit of outdated training, and I'm so excited for this new wave and this new information. And there's so many new practitioners who are stepping up, and female practitioners who are advocating for young girls and female athletes and artistic athletes. So yeah, I think that things are changing for the better because we have actual research. Some actual research is coming, and I think it's only going to get better as there's more women in STEM. And
That's great. It's fascinating because my background being competitive gymnastics, right? There's so many parallels with dancers and gymnasts with the flexibility and obviously the choreography components and all of that. One thing about the sport of gymnastics is there's definitely a section of it that has a strong emphasis on power, like when you're power tumbling and all of that. So I think the strength training lends itself to that. However, I definitely see these distinct types of gymnasts where you'll have ones that you're like, okay, you're really good with strength and power, but your dance is like, we're keeping it really basic for your dance components because it's the aesthetic isn't there always, versus the opposite where you've got super hypermobile, beautiful dance, but then the power isn't always there, right? So I think it's this learning how to meld those together and not feel like, well, I'm only ever at extreme opposite ends. How can we develop strength but without the expense of losing mobility?
yeah, so you do have to have both. Having excessive range of motion isn't really beneficial if you can't control it through the motion. And that's where injuries happen when people are on the more flexible side and they're just like throwing and throwing. And that's where micro tears can happen and injuries. On the strength side, too, you can be super strong, but there is in the artistic athlete world the component of aesthetic that is desired. So, yeah, I think that there is a little bit more rehab or changing, not rehab, prehab, changing in studio of even warm-ups and not just doing dynamic stretches where we're sitting in a straddle split for 2 or 3 minutes. There's core work being done and plyometric training and jumps and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would like to see a little bit more of a blend, but it's only gonna come. It's only gonna come for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your studio, how are you incorporating mobility and strength and all of that into your dancers so they can learn maybe like the right way or maybe a more holistic way of incorporating dance or doing dance?
First of all, I start with education, and I start with explaining why it's important for um, building muscular strength so that we're not relying on lax ligaments, and building power and stability. And that really blends also into like nutrition support and rest and recovery support. So that is when I am working with my patients who are dancers where we start. And again, with the teaching them about hypermobility and pulling in all of their complex constellation of symptoms that they may be having, why they are all maybe not random and why maybe they are all like a part of their picture. And it's mostly validating is like where I like to start patient education is at like the forefront of what I like to do. And then we go into some demoing, some rehab, some, core stabilization. They're especially in dance with turnout and like their glutes and low back, and these girls, their booties are so tight because they want that perfect turned out range of motion. So learning how to engage, but then relax and turn off, and building stability through their core, through not only the fronts and the sides, but also the bottom and the top, and breathing exercises through it. And yeah, that would be kind of how I like to go about it. Education, demoing, and then giving them some stuff to take home with. And yeah, some basic. And a lot of the times it's basic. Like the girls that I work with, or the athletes and dancers that I work with, they're young. So they've never the gym is new for girls in general. So even just going through like, what is a squat, and what is like some great variation in like how your feet should look, or what's comfortable for you, or what quality of motion are we looking for, goes a long way. It's not always that complicated. It's more just, giving them the basics. And I think that parents are very happy with this as well, because they don't know either. Like a lot of the moms that I have, like nobody taught them how to do, lunges and overhead presses and that kind of stuff either. That's one thing that I've been really learning. It's like I'm educating the dancer and the patient, and yeah, it's been a really, really interesting journey. And this is something that like I've only really dove into this world within the last year or so. So I'm kind of learning along the way of like what I think is important, but then what the parents' concerns are, and what is really their concerns, or how to talk to a 13-year-old, or how to like relate to, get on their level of like how they like to communicate. So
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that. My oldest daughter is 12, and we were just talking about this before we popped onto the episode, because I do coach gymnasts in this age category as well. And sometimes what can happen is they seem like they're enjoying it, but then once they actually take a moment or like get home or into their safe space, then you get the meltdown of like, I'm so bad at this sport and I've been practicing this for X number of years and I'm not getting any better. This is my impression, but it's very dramatic. And it's like, I have noticed, and I've gone through it with a lot of the gymnasts on the roster. It's not just one. Either they'll get fearful to try a certain new skill, or maybe they injured themselves and then trying that skill again is very difficult. But then also, like, if they're not getting on the podium winning, like they think they suck. And you're like, no, you're actually an amazing dancer or amazing gymnast. Sport is so complex that way.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things you're doing to help with that, since you brought up communicating with 13-year-olds?
yeah, when I first started, I remembered being so nervous and excited. I had like one of my first dancers ever, and the mom was in the room, and I was like, I'm gonna give like the best biomechanical, like dancer specific assessment in the world. And then when I like asked, like, I'm like, so how's dance going? And this girl was like, well, Timmy held my hand because that's part of the choreo, and Claire was upset because she has a crush on Timmy, and I didn't want to hold Timmy's hand. And like, I was like, like, I don't know if I know how to do this. So like, it's interesting hearing what their concerns are. Like, and that's like a real concern. And that was honestly something really eye-opening for me. But yeah, I think that's kind of the next layer, is like building confidence when athletes aren't feeling like they don't feel good enough. They don't feel, and it's the comparison game. Like it's like, I should have pushed harder. I screwed that choreography up. I always forget this one spot, or I never forget that spot. And for some reason I forgot it. Like, what is going on? My brain is turning off, like something's happening. And I think just like providing reassurance and providing, just going back to the basics, and really like, I love goal setting. I think that goal setting and reverse engineering is really important, and turning things into like micro steps of like, okay, like it's not the whole performance, the whole show. Like, let's focus on one dance at a time, one skill at a time. one component of the dance. Maybe it's just like, I just want to get through my cardio today. I'm not going to worry about kicking my legs super hard. I just want to get through, I want to smile through the whole thing. Or maybe it's none of that. Maybe it's like, I'm going to kind of get through everything and I'm only going to like nail my aerial or nail my intense trick or solo or whatever it is. So breaking things down and also, again, back to the hypermobility piece, sometimes for some people or some hypermobile patients, we process things a little bit slower. Sometimes it just takes us a little longer to learn the choreography or make that understanding or that connection. So validating them in that of like, you know what, like you might not be getting this as fast as Claire because of what's happening, and that's okay. And just knowing that can be so empowering.
Yes.
Yeah, Timmy's a womanizer, that guy. I was just thinking too, this is a little bit off topic of what you're telling, but like I come from a past of like team sports, more like professional team sports, which I understand dance can have aspects of like teammates, but it is a lot of like just you. And I think that's where a lot of like some of that perfectionism and like comparison can come into play. Cause essentially, like when I went into a game, I can't predict what's going to happen. Like I don't have a choreographed thing that I need to know. Like it's just, I'm out there and I'm going to try hard. You know what I mean? So I think that can also be an aspect of like where that perfectionism can come from. I don't know if you have anything to speak about that, but that's just something that I kind of noticed about like for Emily, like you and gymnastics. It's something I've always kind of like, it's very like alone. You're like alone.
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
like if you screw it up, you screwed it
You
up. It
screwed it
wasn't
up.
someone else's
Yeah.
fault, right?
It's no one else's fault. And there's no like domino effect of like, oh, you passed to here and then we scored or whatever. And it can look however it looks. Like when I was playing lacrosse and hockey, like there is no rhyme to the reason why someone scored. It was just like things clicked at that present time and like, woohoo, you know? So there's no predictability to it.
Maybe that's why you want predictability now, Hailee. You didn't have enough.
I think our brain always wants predictability.
Yeah, and I feel like it's one of those things, right? Where, oh, yeah, it's so fascinating. Just that element of ownership, I think is really
Yeah.
what you're touching on.
Absolutely. Because I've also danced in high school, though. So it was not like I was not good. I just absolutely love dancing. And so I did it in my high school and I absolutely miss it so much. But yeah, it was like, it was a lot more anxiety provoking for myself. Not only like, you know, you're on stage and like people are like, there's light shining at you, but also like, if you don't remember this, oh my gosh, I'm going to tell you a horrible story. It's not even that horrible. It was like the last dance show of the year and I had to change costumes because I was like in the opening act and then I had to go back with my own group and I didn't change something about my costume and it's on tape and it looked terrible and I'm so like it still ruminates, you see? Like I can't tell you when I made a mistake in hockey, but I can tell you that mistake.
You can tell the costume was messed up. This
That
is like
is like
me.
a
I was
worst
at an
fear.
international comp, like competing, and my hair started falling out, and I lost points for my hair starting to fall out. And we were like, no, never again. Like so much hairspray after that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Kristin, I'm also curious because we didn't touch on this. Like, what is your story and your background and how you got into Ukrainian dance and all of this stuff?
So I am from a very small town in Saskatchewan, which is very Ukrainian in nature. Basically, when I was like 5 years old, my mom put me in it. So I grew up doing Ukrainian dance through high school. And then when I moved to Saskatoon, my friend invited me to join this ensemble, and I wasn't really sure about it. I had never heard about it before. I didn't really know what it was, but I knew that they were quite high level, and I didn't think I had what it took. So I was nervous and I thought, you know what, I don't know if I belong here. And he asked me to come one time and I said no and I didn't. And then he asked me to come in the fall to the fall audition. And he told me that they were planning an international tour to Ukraine. And one thing that I'd always wanted to do growing up was travel. And to me, this was like kind of my opportunity or my ticket. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go try and I'm going to go see what happens. And for some reason, I was accepted. And it was one of the most growth processes, I guess, I've ever had in my life. I was definitely the small town girl. I think I came to auditions wearing pink tights, pink leggings, and an oversized gym shirt, and my hair in a ponytail, because that's what we wore, and like jazz slippers. And all the girls in this ensemble had black tights, black skirts, black bodysuits, hair in a bun, red character shoes that they had worked in for their growing up. And I just was like, there's no way. Like I am not one of these, like I didn't have that. I didn't grow up with that type of instructor or that type of caliber or expectations. So yeah, then I joined, and even throughout the first year, honestly, it was quite intimidating to be there. And it was hard, but then I just decided to work hard for it. And that's where I learned a lot of lessons in teamwork and hard work and dedication and time management, because this group practices 3 times a week for about 3 hours a week, plus performances, plus fundraising obligations, and learning on your own time. So it was like drinking out of the fire hose for the first few years. And then yeah, I think after you kind of get the swing of it, I really loved it. And once I started getting my groove with it and learning this new style in a new city with all these new dancers who all kind of grew up together and knew each other and had the same artistic director for their entire life. So yeah, once I kind of got the swing of it, yeah, I learned to really, really love it. And then honestly, it wasn't till so I went to Cairo school in 2018, quit Ukrainian dancing, thought I would never do it ever again. Moved to Portland to Cairo school, got into my yoga practice, loved it. And then COVID happened. And that's when all Portland was very, very COVID conscious. And it was all the yoga studios, all the gyms, all the restaurants, food and exercise. My two loves were taken away from me. Then I had found out that my dance group in Saskatoon was actually practicing on Zoom. And with the time change, it ended up being literally perfect for me to join them on Zoom. Then I did Zoom with them. It was like lots of people hated Zoom, but for me, it was like such a saving grace. It was so good to be connected to a community and like a routine again, because honestly, as we all know, COVID kind of was this gray area of like, you don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know like what your routine or schedule or what anything's going to be. So it was just really, for me, it really grounded me back into something. And it was really important for me to have that connection back. And then about, I think I started in January with them on Zoom. In May, I moved back home. And also being in Portland, of course, my two best friends, Taylor and Carissa, were a competitive gymnast and competitive cheerleader. So I was seeing what their groups back home in Florida and Alberta were doing. And I was like, man, like we have like the opportunities as artistic athletes. And I was seeing like the potential that we could have in Ukrainian dancing, because it is this really niche thing. Like I think I have since traveled to like 7, 8, 9 different countries on tour, international, intercontinental, Europe and South America twice. Like it's just crazy to me that Ukrainian dancing has given me those opportunities. So yeah, since COVID, that's when I really dove into like the potential here, like the opportunity that young dancers, like you never quit. Like what if I would have quit after grade 12, I would have never had these opportunities and my life would be very, very different. I don't even want to think about what my life would be like. So now it's been like very important to me to make young dancers interested and let them know that there's, and when I grew up, like honestly, Ukrainian dancing was like kind of the lame thing to do. Like it was like, oh, your parents made you do it, or Baba, or like your grandma basically like made you do it. And now I'm like, no, like this is way cooler than like, I'm sorry, like team sports. You're not going to Europe with lacrosse unless you're very, very high level
Yeah.
or whatever. So like, I think there's so much untapped potential within like the Ukrainian dance specifically community. And I think there's going to be I can already start to see like this change in, the world is a different place since pre-COVID, even like the internet and social media has changed the game and changed the opportunities. And yeah, so now I just retired from dance I retired from the semi-professional ensemble I was with in July. We did a tour to Italy, so that was kind of my last performance and tour with them. And then since then, I've actually been dancing with another group as well. And I did a videography shoot in August with them. That was really amazing. And now I'm starting to phase out a little bit. I'm 26 weeks pregnant, so I'm slowing down a little bit with that. Yeah. By the way,
Congrats.
thank you.
Congratulations. Oh my gosh. I love
That's
Thank you.
exciting.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so yeah, now I'm still super passionate about dance though. Like I thought I was like, oh man, maybe pregnancy is gonna like change. But I'm like, nope, I'm still like and actually even going through pregnancy myself right now, I'm having a very blessed and very great experience. And I do credit a lot of that to my body awareness and the consistency I've had for the last 15 years of exercise and health and fitness and all of that. So I'm kind of like, no, like these young female athletes, like if anything, should continue as long as possible and continue in healthy ways to throughout all of these beautiful life changes of like for me, I'm experiencing like matrescence, which is the transition into motherhood and in the early phases of that. And it's been really I'm holding on to all of the values that I've learned through my dance experience and through the beautiful connections that I've had or conversations just like this too. So
That was
That's so
beautiful.
amazing. It was. Thank you for sharing that.
of
That's
course,
so
thanks for
great.
asking.
Well, and your story, you have a beautiful story. You can tell just how passionate you are about what you do and the people that you connect with. I love that. So, thank you for that. Just hearing you speak and the body awareness, the health and longevity lens that you see through artistic sport, through dance, through movement. And I think it's really important to learn the difference between like normal training discomfort and then like early warning signs of pushing
Mhm.
yourself too far. Because obviously, we know to get to a certain level in any sport, you have to learn this push through, right? You have to push through discomfort. But I really think we need to shift from push through to train smart. But it's a hard thing to do for an athlete without feeling lazy or like they're falling behind. So how do you help someone with this shift?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Actually, just in December, I just had a dancer who had her tap exams or tap and something else. Maybe it's just tap. And she injured her back 2 weeks before. She has a bad back and it's frustrating and it's scary and you want to push because you're supposed to get through this event and perform and pass and like we treated her and like it's interesting being on like kind of both sides of it of being the healthcare practitioner but also being a dancer myself because it's kind of like the angel and the devil on the shoulders where part of me is like you really need to like take time, let your body recover, really focus in on what you can control, like your rest, your nutrition, hydration. And I think hydration is a big one for certain dancers as well. But then there's also like the devil on my shoulder that's like just push through, like just do it, like send it when you're in there. Yeah, so it's kind of I have a unique perspective on that because you want them to be successful. And it is kind of finding that like that nice fine line of pacing them into the right amount and not pushing the boundary, but sometimes things are trial and error. And sometimes that is how we find out we've pushed too far is when we end up in those situations. So yeah, it is finding the balance and everybody's a little different and everybody has, what they're not focusing enough on or even like things like I've coached on like visualization, like being like, hey, like how about instead of physically doing it, like let's like close our eyes, put the music on, and then do it full out with your brain, because that's still firing the exact same parts and maps of your brain and neurology. So yes, we're going to give our physical body a rest, but we're going to perform as best as we can in our head.
I love
Yeah.
that. And I so relate to that devil and thing on your shoulders just from like your past too, because like you know what it takes to be at the level that you got to, right? Which comes with some sacrifice. But within that too, like just for myself and my own journey, you learn so much about being body literate. I don't think I could have learned that as well as I did had I not kind of like push that limit a little bit. But I think that it's very valuable that you have pushed that limit, so now you can pass that down to now like other dancers that are like maybe approaching that and be like, hey, whoa, like this might not be the best thing, like take it from someone who kind of did it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a little bit more common now to ask your instructor to sit in a dance class or just to watch. I think there's a little bit more acceptance with that of, whereas I'm not sure, like, because yeah, before it would be like, well, my back hurt too, so, but I still did it, so get up and join us or whatever. So I think there's a little bit more understanding of just knowing that like sometimes people just need to like take the day off, and that's probably ultimately the best thing for the performance and for the end goal and for the team and the ensemble together.
Yeah, it's looking at the long-term gain, right? Like the whole picture, and it's not just in this short moment or on this one day. It's the cycles that you go through. And it makes me think a lot of in the fitness realm and when we're strength training, this is a huge thing. So there's obviously factoring in deload weeks with when we're trying to gain strength. And that could look like, okay, I'm going to do an active recovery. I'm going to walk on the treadmill instead of run. I'm going to do 50% of my max in these certain lifts throughout this week, but I'm still keeping the habit. I'm still doing the movements. You touched on visualization, which you can incorporate that in those deload weeks as well. And it's very effective. We could apply this in the dance studio or sport. And we definitely do it in the weightlifting world where, let's say you're in the middle of the lift and you feel something tweak a bit. You're like, my back feels twingy in the deadlift or my shoulder feels twingy in the bench. I think this is a mistake people make if they have a pre-prescribed program where it says do 10 reps of this lift at 75% of your max with a 1 minute rest. All you need to do in that scenario is back it down to 65% instead of 75% and give yourself a 2 minute rest. So when we say rest, sometimes it's like you physically need to sleep more and stay home and get better from being sick. Sometimes it means you just need to give yourself a little bit more space for recovery within the gym or within the studio. I remember we used to do this with our routines in gymnastics. We do these 10 in a rows and it'd be like we're working on our recovery time. And it's if you're feeling that risk of injury feeling, instead of doing your routine and then giving yourself a 1 minute recovery, do your routine and give yourself a 2 or 3 minute recovery. And it's just going to allow your body to recover within that session without quitting. So I feel like this idea of learn to rest, not quit can be really helpful too, to mitigate that feeling of, oh, now I'm falling behind, or I totally missed practice, or I'm out of my rhythm. You can keep your rhythm, but the train smart part is realizing when it goes from muscular soreness to like twingy joint pain or nerve pinchy feeling.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
Learning to listen to our bodies, become more body literate, how we can apply that. Like, I love how you were able to give us the insights specific to dancers and share your journey. And then also, if you're listening to this and you're not dance specific, a lot of these overarching principles remain consistent because it's so much about the fundamentals. And as we wrap up this session, is there anything else that you just want to wrap up with or a closing remark?
Yeah, I think that I just think that there's so much like untapped potential. And once young females or artistic athletes or whoever learn how to advocate for themselves, learn how to organize their lives and build strength from the inside out, I'm really excited for the future and what's going to happen when women's health is prioritized. And yeah, I love what I do. I feel like now that I am in this like new phase of my life, I'm just excited feeling a little bit more bold to be like, no, like I've put in the hard work, I've learned all the things I need to learn, and now like I just need to say what I need to say. And I'm really excited for like the future of women's health and starting with in my little world of dancers.
I love that. And where can everyone find you?
I am mostly on Instagram. My handle is my name, Kristin Dudek .dc. And then I also have a second page dedicated to just dance specific information called the Dance Apothecary. So that is a little side quest that I've been working on as a way to supplement my patients with knowledge and information and more one-on-one care, because I am primarily a manual therapist when I'm in my treatment room. However, all of those, like, I tell somebody to drink water, but whether they do or not, that's where the Dance Apothecary comes in for that accountability piece. And with rehab, goal setting, habits, lifestyle modifications, that kind of stuff. So the Dance Apothecary is a place for dancers to feel supported and find resources that are specifically speaking directly to them. I also have a website, thedanceapothecary.com as well.
And for any local listeners to your area, your chiropractic clinic?
So it's called Living Skies Chiropractic. I am a home-based clinic. That's something that's unique about me. And I'm also a registered massage therapist as well. So I do some combination treatments. And yeah, so that I don't really practice, like, I guess people know because I'm an independent practitioner at my house. People know me as Dr. Kristin. I don't use my Living Skies as much, but that is the website. You can livingskieschiro.com. That's where my patients book with me. And yeah, it's out of my house. We're building a brand new house in a neighborhood just a couple minutes away from where we currently are. So my new space is going to be brand new. It's beautiful, designed for having a little home studio so that I can keep on having this beautiful work-life balance and able to work in a way and I love, and that gives me the flexibility and then the capacity to do the best work that I can.
Yeah, especially entering into this new phase of motherhood too. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah,
That's
thank
awesome.
you. Me too.
Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for being on today. It was so nice to get to know you more and to be able to connect. Please share this episode with a friend, whether it's a dancer you know or a dancer's mom or dad, because lots of times as parents, we don't always even know how to support our athletes when it comes to their health, what's best for their mind and body as they learn and grow in their sport. Thank you again for your support. Make sure you click the subscribe button on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And in the meantime, be free, feel fresh, and live on fire.